is cleanliness something to be found anywhere? Where will then cleanliness come from? Whenever the behavior of a people or a society or a nation would be determined by just external material factors alone, there is no scope of real cleanliness. It's not just about not having visible dirt or plastic or stuff of that kind. No. You can have extremely clean and hygienic slaughterhouse, cleaner than a government hospital in North India. And if we show you pics of that hospital and that slaughterhouse, you would immediately say, oh, that one is cleaner. Just to call something clean because it looks clean to the eyes. You have to look at the totality of what is happening there. It might look clean to the eyes, but something extremely violent is happening there, and which is made worse by the fact that it is not visible. Cleanliness in 2025 must have only one meaning: carbon. Carbon. Cleanliness, or the lack of it, that comes from just external conditions, is in either case unclean. If the lack of cleanliness, apparent cleanliness, is coming from poverty, yeah, then obviously there is lack of cleanliness, and you can see that. It's visible. It's right there in front of a road. It's there at the town square. It's everywhere. Hospitals, you go and somebody has been spitting on the walls. You can see all that, right? And then there is the developed world, where no one is spitting on the walls, and in fact, in places like Singapore, you are being actually effectively penalized if you are caught doing anything with public property, including roads. So there is apparent cleanliness there. You can call it superficial cleanliness, but then they are dirty in a much deeper sense. So then, is cleanliness something to be found anywhere? Is it to be found anywhere? Well, of course, the Indian subcontinent and the entire underdeveloped, developing world, nobody would call it clean. And neither do we need to. Let's accept the facts when they are visible to the naked eye. We can see. Even when you go to watch the pristine hillsides, how we have dirtied them. That's visible. So we are not here to claim that India or the developing world is a clean place. No, not at all. But then if that is unclean, the developed world is dirtier, even more unclean. So where will then cleanliness come from? Where will then cleanliness come from? External factors are not favorable. So I created cleanliness of the gross kind. Matter lying strewn here and there, right? External factors are not favorable. I'm a poor country. So this and that is lying here, and public services are in an abysmal state, so visible. When I'm developed, then I clean this up so that dirt is not visible, but I create filth of a much more vicious nature, right? Right? Where is cleanliness then? Or is there no possibility at all? You see, that's what we began with. If it's coming from outside, it's not going to be clean. It's going to be unclean when it appears unclean, and it's going to be unclean when it appears clean. Irrespective of how it appears, it is going to be dirty. It appears unclean, it is obviously unclean. It appears clean, it is even more unclean. Whenever the behavior of a people or a society or a nation would be determined by just external material factors alone, there is no scope of real cleanliness. Real cleanliness is possible only from the heart of the human being. When you are clean within, then you will know how to relate to your environment, to your surroundings, the road in front of your house, to all the public places, schools, hospitals, roads, shops, government institutions, buildings, airports, bus stations. You will know. But when you are not clean from here, and what is cleanliness? Over here, to be clean over here is to be free of that which is not really you, which is coming from the body or the society. That inner cleanliness is the goal of all wisdom literature and all spiritual pursuit. Right? Not really attainment of something otherworldly. Not really taking care of your next birth or pleasing some metaphysical divine entity sitting on the skies. No, that's not what wisdom or spirituality are for. They are to attain an inner cleanliness. Inner cleanliness. And when that inner cleanliness is attained, something very beautiful happens. So beautiful, it is not predictable. We do not know how the outsides would look then. But what's certain is that there would be no violence between the human being and his environment, his surroundings. Right? That violence is the fundamental characteristic of being unclean. Unclean. Right? I am not a factor, not an agent, not a force of cleanliness. If I enter this place and leave it worse when I go back. That's called being an agent of filth. I came here and the place was worse off when I left. Worse off in all ways possible. In my effect, not just on the way this stage looks, that the podium looks, but also in my effect on the living beings sitting over here. Also my effect on the living beings that are present here, but we cannot see with our eyes because they might be outside the scope of these walls. Getting it? That's cleanliness. Not to be in a violent relationship with your environment. Not to be in a violent relationship with your environment. It's not just about not having visible dirt or plastic or stuff of that kind. No. You can have a very modern, state-of-the-art, extremely clean and hygienic slaughterhouse. Cleaner than a government hospital in North India. And if we show you pics of that hospital and that slaughterhouse, you would immediately say, oh, that one is cleaner. And we have not yet told you that one is a hospital and the other one is a slaughterhouse. The hospital would not look half as clean as the slaughterhouse. That's a stupid definition of cleanliness, no? Just to call something clean because it looks clean to the eyes. You have to look at the totality of what is happening there. It might look clean to the eyes, but something extremely violent is happening there, and which is made worse by the fact that it is not visible. It is not visible. That huge SUV, is doing something to the environment that is not easily visible to the naked eye. How clean is that? How clean is that? And there might be a Khatara bus, right, in Rajasthan, MP, UP, somewhere, decrepit, ready to give up the ghost at any point. But it's carrying 80 passengers. The official capacity is 54. The fact is that the per capita emissions are negligible. Even if the engine is 1950s vintage, still, because it is carrying 80 people, the per capita emissions are negligible. Right? And the huge SUV might actually be a very modern EV, very, very modern electric vehicle. And you might say, electric vehicle, no emissions. Sir, the entire charging is happening from fossil fuel power. Right? How do you call it clean? How do you call it clean? Yes. And the EV has technology of 2025. Most modern technology. And that bus, UP Roadways, has 1955 technology. Tell me which one is cleaner? Which one is cleaner? This SUV is carrying one person. One person. One fat, pampered person who thinks he is entitled to do anything that he wants to do with the environment. Worse still, he has convinced himself that he is doing something that's environment friendly. This is an EV SUV. Tell me. Immediately you would want to say that the man driving the EV is doing something that's cleaner. And what's happening in the other picture, where you have that old diesel guzzling bus that's doing something that's harming the environment. And you could have a pic of the exhaust as well. And dark fumes emerging from the exhaust of the bus would further convince you that something extremely dirty is happening here. But is the conclusion so obvious? Do we need to be so hasty in concluding? Or is the fact a little different? We must totally get rid of gross notions of cleanliness. Cleanliness in 2025 must have only one meaning: carbon. Carbon. Oh, you look so clean. You look so clean. 4 times a day, you are taking the shower. No, that's a very dirty thing to do, sir or ma'am. Very dirty thing to do. Especially in a place where the annual rainfall is 10 centimeter. 10 centimeter of annual rainfall. A lot of reliance on desalinated water. And then you want to look so clean by consuming so much water? No. That's the dirtiest thing probably that you can do. And I don't know how it happens here, but in India, people would take a hose pipe, and wash their vehicles as well. And then the vehicle would start looking clean. No, that's a very dirty practice. A very dirty practice. So from the superficial definition of cleanliness, which is about cleanliness visible to the naked eye, we want to come to a less material definition of cleanliness, which relates to carbon emissions, but is still a material definition after all, because carbon dioxide is a material thing. And ultimately, we are saying that real cleanliness, about being clean here, if we cannot fully grasp or immediately come to a point of cleanliness inside, let's at least shun the notions of outward cleanliness. Not that I'm advocating that outwardly we should be stinking and dirty and unseemly and shabby. No, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that if cleanliness is something so valuable, we better know what it really means. Just because something has a shiny skin, be it a human being or an SUV, that doesn't make it clean. Or does it? Just because a place has shiny roads, that doesn't make it clean. Or shiny buildings, that doesn't make it clean. If the entire world to be as clean as the United States of America, as clean as, oxymoron, we would need close to 8 planets like our own to sustain that level of cleanliness. We better remain outwardly a little unclean. That's probably acceptable. That's all right.
No, I was just wondering, like people who are living like very slow life, even like in Bali or villages in India, they're able to be much more like they are cleaner naturally without trying.
They are living a slow life because they are not yet getting the opportunity to live the fast and dreamy life that probably you do or most of us do. So it's again circumstantial, environmental, random, coincidental. You're getting it? The man in that village who appears like living a slow life is not doing so out of choice. In fact, in his heart, he is continuously aspiring, can I also somehow make it to Mumbai or Dubai? Just that he is not yet getting the chance. Or maybe he is not diligent enough, or smart enough, or skilled enough. See, as long as your behavior is an output of your environment, there is no way any kind of behavior that you display can be counted as credit towards you. A gun to your temple and you are made to behave in a proper, honorable, decent, respectable way. Should I credit you for that? Should I? The moment the gun is gone, you will revert to only you know what. Getting it? It's not that the man in the village leading a slow life is virtuous. He is just deprived of opportunity. In fact, he might be as full of greed and ambition and aspiration and violence as anybody else. And given a chance, he might shortchange you in the worst way possible. I recall this one often. So there was this shopping mall I went to. It was more than 10 years back. And a particular piece of furniture was to be bought. The Bodhsthal was being built then. So the shopkeeper selling the furniture, he tried to act smart and tried to dupe us. And there was some argument, and we ultimately got him around and got the right price. But it left a bitter taste in the mouth. Somebody you have just discovered was trying to fool you. That doesn't leave you with a happy mind. You are being tricked. And then we return to the parking lot. And there the parking guy, he's demanding 20 rupees extra by acting smart and showing us the wrong kind of slip. And then there was somebody with me, and I said, how is this behavior fundamentally different from the behavior of the shopkeeper inside the mall? Here is this gatekeeper outside the mall, and how is his behavior fundamentally different from the behavior of the shopkeeper inside the mall? So it's not really necessary that if somebody is poor or slow, then that points at virtuosity. No way. But we have been somewhere taught to think like that. That there is a certain virtue in poverty. In India, we often refer to the poor as Daridra Narayan. Daridra means poor, and Narayan means God. Why? Give him a chance. Just give him a chance, and he'll show you what he's capable of. He too is running the same race, just that he's a laggard. It's not that he has willingly opted out of the race. He is in the same race, just that he is not able to run that race properly. That's why he's been left behind. Not that he has opted out. No, that's real cleanliness, to see that the race is dirty. Not to run the usual race. And that does not mean that you opt out of the race and do nothing. That means to walk a different path. That means to discover who you are and hence discover the path you must take. That's cleanliness. These days we are talking of debris, not only on the land, but also on the ocean floor. Who did that? Third world countries. Who did that? The third world countries. We are also talking of pollution in space. Thousands of material pieces are orbiting our planet now, just like satellites. Anything that's there in outer space would orbit the Earth, and they are orbiting. And they can cause any kind of accidents, and those accidents can prove fatal, given that we are having more and more manned space missions now. So there's a country that dirties the land. And then there are countries that are keeping the land and the surroundings nice to look at, but are dirtying the atmosphere, the ocean floor, and also outer space. We need to look at the whole thing in a more holistic way. What do we mean by cleanliness? Cleanliness is not something that comes by being poor. Cleanliness is also not something that comes by being rich. Cleanliness is an entirely different dimension.